Hi there, I'm Catherine Storing. I am your lifestylist and confidence building coach. I am going to share with you how this weekend I was reminded of the purpose of my style. And hopefully my story will help you figure out if you are on track or if you need to make a change. As I was saying, this weekend I was reminded of what the purpose of my style is. And it was a very hard lesson to learn, but one that was much needed. And I thought if I needed to learn it, there might be people out there, and you know who that is, that needs to be reminded of what the purpose of their style is. I just returned from the Dominican Republic. I spent some time with family and friends, and I was also there to do an event, to do a presentation and bring some amazing things to share with some people and to present my services to them. And a lot of work went into this, a lot of expenses, and my family could not have been more supportive. They went above and beyond to be there for me and believed in me and just worked really hard to make this happen. And I was very excited to be there. And like I said, we worked a lot, and it seemed like the right thing to do. Things were just going smoothly. Things were just happening. So I just felt like it was right. I was going to talk to a generic number of women. They were not godly women. These were just women that lived on the east side of the island, and they were interested in my styling services. And I just thought, I'm just gonna do it, and kind of forgetting or trying to dilute my message to just make it fit. And that should have been a clue there, but I was just thinking that I could just talk about style, not realizing that I'm not that. I am all about styling faith. To me, they are commingled. They are one in the same. And I found out how difficult it was to actually just talk about style. I find that very superficial. I believe that we have a purpose in our styles. There's something that we must do, that we have been called to do with our style. And that's what I found out this weekend. Everything started with not finding any flights to get to the DR. Finally, I found a flight, and it was actually through Panama. So I had to go from Boston to Panama, be laid over there for quite a few hours, and then going from Panama to Punta Cana, which is on the east side of the island. So I thought, no big deal, I'll make it work. I love airports anyway. So there I am on my way from Boston to Panama, and had an amazing time and got there. That week was really crazy for me, so I had no time to choose my seat, which I usually do. I just showed up and they assigned me to a random seat, which is actually a pretty good seat. I get to my seat, there are two people sitting there, and I actually had seen them earlier at the airport because they had these beautiful silk flowers, and I couldn't help myself and I had to say something. But anyway, we're sitting there and we strike a conversation, and lo and behold, they speak Spanish. They're from Colombia, and we start talking, and I think people can recognize each other. And she happened to be an amazing godly woman, and so was her mother, and we just had a Jesus love fest. For 5 hours, we just talked about our testimonies, what God has done in our lives. We just had an amazing time encouraging one another. She invited me to her house and to her city to do an amazing talk. And it was just a great way to get the trip started. I was so excited. I still had more time to kill. And I got my nails done actually at the airport. I just couldn't resist a really good deal. And when I returned back to my gate, I sat down, and something told me to move, and I moved again, and finally I was sitting next to this very young girl, and she helped me to charge my cell phone because it was dying and my nails were wet. Everything just happens for a reason, everything. And I asked her, where she was going and where she was from. She said she was from Colombia and she was going to Guadalajara. I'm like, what on earth is in Guadalajara for you? And she proceeded to tell me right there at the gate in front of everyone that she was going there because she was going to train to become a missionary. I was just floored. She was 17 years old and she had heard the call. She decided to do it and she was going to become a missionary in a whole different country, whole different location, leaving her friends, her family, everything behind to become a missionary. Of course, we struck a conversation and I told her how proud I was of her and how amazing it was. And again, we swapped testimonies and we encouraged one another. And she had been at the airport for hours, since like 8 a.m. in the morning. And at that time, it was like 5 in the afternoon. And she was a little sad and down a little bit. And we just share this bond of the love that we have for God, and we just talked for a while, and I walked her to her gate and we hugged and we exchanged information. It was just amazing. I just couldn't believe how God had brought me through Panama so I could meet these two amazing women. So I'm thinking my trip is going fantastic. I'm gonna have an amazing time. I'm gonna kill it on my talk and I'm gonna get lots of business from this trip. It's gonna be fantastic, okay? And I bet you can hear the negative undertone here. I get to the DR really late that day. Everything's going wonderfully. My relatives arrived. Everyone is helping. Everything is going well. And then the day comes and the time comes and 50 women had been invited to this event and they were very excited to be there. They have been talking about it and inviting lots of people to show up, and only a handful of them showed up, actually just like 11 of them. I tried to, remain positive and be like, no, this is okay. The right number is here. And I started the event, the talk with a prayer, but I didn't feel 100%. I wasn't being myself. I wasn't really speaking the way that I speak because I felt that these women were lay women and wouldn't appreciate someone to come there and talk to them about styling faith when they went there just to listen about style and colors and shopping and all that stuff. So, and not only that, I was giving the talk in Spanish, and even though Spanish used to be my first language, it's actually my second language, so I had to translate this speech, and my accent was fine and everything was great, but my brain is just doing these crazy things while I'm talking. And I was also editing myself at the same time because I couldn't speak the way that I speak when I talk about the purpose of style and the way that we do things, why we dress the way we dress, and what's the meaning behind it, and what are we supposed to do, and how we're supposed to dress as godly women. So I was like way out of my league, and I was trying to speak this language that it was just not me. And the presentation went okay, it went well. People were receptive, they asked questions, and I have sent some merchandise ahead of time to sell, and it had amazing stuff, just beautiful, gorgeous stuff. And the reception was they really weren't expecting the awesome stuff that I brought, and so the sales were very few, and I had 3 offerings for them, and there was some interest for later, when you come back later, and not as fruitful as I thought it was going to be. So of course I was devastated because I was expecting this trip to be amazing, life-changing, and all that stuff, and maybe more trips in the future to the DR, and it was just not what I expected to happen. So there I am thinking, why on earth am I here? Why did things turn out to be so easy for me to get there, for things to come up the way they did, and just for me to flop, horribly, and so publicly in front of my family. But they were very supportive. They were saying, you did great, things are gonna get better, don't worry about it, this is fine. But inside, I knew that it wasn't fine. I knew that something was amiss, and I just couldn't figure out what it was. And Monday morning was time for me to leave. Actually, I had an early flight, so I had to go to the airport at 4 a.m. in the morning, and somebody dropped me off, and I was trying to make small talk. It's really early in the morning. I am not a morning person at all, but I'm so grateful somebody's giving me a ride to the airport that I'm just making small conversation. So I knew that person was going to be giving a speech later that day to a group of lawyers. So I asked, what's the subject of your speech? I love giving speeches, so I'm like, I was actually curious, but I was expecting a very mild, very simple response, and moving on to the next small chit chat question. And he said, well, actually, I'm gonna give a speech about legislation that is going on about Dominicans of Haitian descent that live in the Dominican Republic and are not citizens, and some of them want to go to an agency and renew their documents, are not able to because they're not considered citizens. It's like almost like taking back their citizenship even though they were born there. And as you may recall, I have a heart for Haitians and Dominicans, and it was early in the morning and I heard it, but it didn't really register, but I knew I was listening to something big. So I go to the airport, we talked about it a little more, and I heard something about it. I hadn't really been following it, which is really bad. I should have, I am Dominican. I still have my citizenship there. So, and it affects me, and these are people that I love and that I have been called to serve, and I want to use my business to help them in a big, big way. And I wasn't following it. I go to the airport, get there early, and I sit there, and now that there's nobody around, I am able to be by myself with my thoughts and really process what has happened, the repercussions of everything. And then I realized that I was brought to the DR at that moment, right before that person's speech, so I can hear about it and realize that I am needed, that the purpose of my style is to help godly women to discover their purpose and dress in a way that shows that they are godly women, and that also propels them into their purpose, the thing that they have been called to do. Because I want to work with women. I work with women that have a purpose, that want to do something, that have been called to do something, and need to dress in a way that allows them to do that, that helps them do that, and dress from the inside out. And the purpose of my style is to help those women, but to also help my brothers, my Haitian and Dominican brothers and sisters. And I needed to go all the way over there to be reminded and to realize that I cannot take out the faith out of styling faith. I am all about faith, and I need to feel free and able to speak about the things that I love, the things that I believe in. And I could have not blogged about this and said nothing, but I didn't think that was authentic. I didn't think that was right. I really wanted to be honest and share with you that sometimes we might look at the easy way out, the fastest way to get where we want to get, and actually it makes it longer. It takes longer to get where we want to go, and it actually kind of dilutes our purpose, what we're about. We should be who we are 100% all the time. And if I am about styling faith, yes, I am a stylist, but I'm a godly woman, and I'm very serious about that. I am very proud of my faith and of the things that God has done in my life. So if I am gonna get in front of a whole bunch of women, I need to talk to them about that. I need to tell them the changes that have happened in my life, the things that I want to do, the things that I want to accomplish, and how I want to help them, how I want to equip them to do that as well, to do that one thing that they have been called to do in an awesome, wholesome, stylish way. And that is what happened this weekend. I learned a very expensive lesson about being myself and be wholesome and be about faith and have my purpose, my whole purpose be and be everywhere that I am and whoever that I talk to be myself 100%. And that lesson continued to happen and repeated throughout, even coming on the way over here. When I got to Panama, I am going through security again to get on my plane back to Boston. And this lady, I've been traveling for a couple of days. I travel quite a lot, and people are very, friendly and nice, and might say hello and where you're coming from, but nothing like this before. This lady is checking my passport and my forms, and then she's like, "Hi, how are you? God bless you." And I was just taken back And I said, oh, thank you, and to you as well. And she looked up because I heard her say it several times to other people, but I think people, didn't say anything, or, but I just, I said it back, and I was just so proud of her. She's doing her job. She's doing her thing at the airport. She had a really cool uniform on, and she was just saying, God bless you. And I was so blessed by that, and so proud of her for honoring her faith and just being out front with it and blessing people on their way to getting on a plane, and it was just beautiful. Be yourself. Be proud about your faith. Be proud of your purpose, of where you're going, and God is going to honor that. He is going to bless that. And if you are a little bit on a detour, if you're not as clear, if you're not as on purpose about your styling faith, about what you have been called to do, I am going to tell you today to not wait to get a lesson, to learn a lesson, to examine where you are and realize that it is important to be 100% yourself. And if you are a godly woman, you are about faith, you are about purpose, and you have a purpose, you have been called for a purpose, and you're here for a purpose. And that purpose is waiting for you to get really serious and to get really focused about what you have been called to do. And He's going to open the doors. He is going to provide the resources, and you're going to be successful when He knows that you're serious, when He knows that you are ready. And I am ready, and I know that you are. And sometimes we just have to raise our hands and say, yes, I am here. Send me. I want to do what you want me to do. So here is to blessings to you, and for styling faith that is permanent, that is secure, and that propels you forward, that allows you to do that one thing that you have been called to do, because we all have been called to do something, and that time is now. What are you called to do? What is the purpose of your styling faith? What have you been called to do? I would love to hear from you. Please tell me in the comment section, what have you been delaying? What have you been waiting and making excuses? What have you not gotten serious about? What is your purpose? What have you been waiting to do? I cannot wait to hear it. I also cannot wait to hear how you plan to move forward and move forward in a big way. Remember, you have a purpose, and that purpose is waiting for you to get really serious.